Hi everyone, welcome to the Lover Nerds, the channel here from Yellow Jackets, and enjoy the video.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Lover Nerds podcast. I'm here with Ryobina Polfuss. Hi Robin, thanks for being here.
Hello.
How are you today then?
I'm good.
Cool. So you said you're making some puppets. So are they for any particular projects coming up?
I've got three projects coming up, but I need to make two puppets for two of the projects.
Okay.
One is I work for a company that does anti-bullying type, stuff to students and stuff.
Yes.
And this is actually a kind of an exciting project we're working on where we're doing a Zoom show as kind of a proposal to do like a live stage show. But of course, Zoom and live stage don't work the same.
Okay, yeah.
And so I was given a character to perform.
Sorry.
But
What's it? Yeah, Dad, I'm busy. What's that? Sorry about that.
No worries. No worries. Yeah, I was given a character to perform, but not the puppet for it.
Okay.
So they were like, oh, well, perhaps you just have something you could use to be this three-headed dragon character. And I tried rigging up three puppets together.
Oh, okay.
Because I actually have quite a lot of dragon puppets. This is a three-headed dragon. And, but it was really awkward. So I said, oh, I'll just make a three-headed dragon puppet.
Fair enough.
And my puppeteering coordinator, I'm very grateful for this, got a little bit of budget for it. So yay her!
That's awesome.
And then the other puppet that I'm going to be so that's actually, I don't know if there's a purple puppet behind me, and I'm actually threading purple thread right now. That's that character, and I may do sewing while we're talking, because that's the more important one to get finished. And then the other one I'm doing is a character for a puppet slam, and it's going to be a crow.
Oh, okay, cool.
And I don't have, it's going to be my own project I have a character named Puppet What.
Okay.
And she makes appearances in various puppet slams, and I've done live shows with her in the before times, and I do Zoom live performances in puppet slams and puppet events, and there's something called a potpourri, which is like a puppet slam, which is just I don't know if you know what a puppet slam is. That's when a bunch of people get together and they just put on a puppet show, and usually each act is very short.
Oh, right. Yeah. So it's often, I get that. Yeah.
Often experimental, often just being goofy. So I used to do a lot of improv, and improv is a little harder to do on Zoom. So I've been experimenting with that. But then I also make videos. I have an editing program now, and I actually, the characters have a bit of a script and a story. So I'm working on two. They're for the holidays are coming up, so it's holiday themed.
Nice, that's
shows.
awesome.
But I need a new puppet for one of the stories.
What's the story revolving around?
It's based on Festivus, which is a holiday made famous in the TV show Seinfeld.
Oh, right.
Which I've watched Seinfeld, but I'm not familiar.
Yeah.
So I've not seen that episode, so I had to look it up. And apparently the writer had a family tradition that the other writers then said, hey, put that in an episode.
Oh, cool.
Right. What you know?
Yes.
So it wound up in an episode, and now there's like a bunch of people that celebrate it. It's December 23rd, and it's an anti-Christmas, anti-commercialism, not anti-Christmas specifically, but anti-commercialism holiday with these weird little traditions like an aluminum pole instead of a Christmas tree, an undecorated Festivus pole, or the airing of grievances. So my piece, I think that's kind of the easy route to go, but my piece is going to be what the character is going to, she's actually on a shelf up above me there. She is going to complain, basically. And that's gonna be the video.
Oh, that sounds cool.
I don't quite want to give you the punchline. The puppet that I have to make has to do with the punchline of her complaint. But I will say this, because she's done this in other videos too. She has a little trouble with COVID, that thing that is affecting us all, and corvid, that type of bird. And she gets those two mixed up.
Ah, okay. That's cool.
So the gag has a little bit to do with her complaining about corvids.
Ah.
And everybody trying to correct her and say, it's not corvids. Corvids are fine.
Yeah.
You mean COVID.
Ah, that's really cool though, because obviously they're quite young, aren't they? And they try to learn how to say the words properly. So that makes a lot of sense in what you're trying to do.
Yeah, well, she'll mess something up, but then she'll just run with it. And a lot of her shows are kind of about having to stop and think about what's really going on.
Oh, okay.
And correct, whatever mistake you may have
Yeah.
made. And she has to apologize occasionally.
Yeah, I can imagine so.
Yeah,
Cool.
I think it's important lessons to learn.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously, from this, you're obviously massive on puppetry at the moment and building and whatnot. When did you first build your first puppet?
I don't know. I was probably, I'm going to guesstimate 6 or 7 years old.
Okay.
And I don't know what my first puppet would have been, but I do have 2 very early puppets that I made as a child, and they were hamsters because I had pet hamsters, and I had a small hamster obsession for a while.
Wow, nice.
And I made these little tiny hand puppets with little faces, and one was made of fur, and one was made of this sort of terry cloth bathrobe material. And I do still have them both. And I teach puppetry to kids, and I would take these in to show the kids, and I'd be like, you guys, I'm going to show you how to sew, and you guys are going to be able to make puppets just like these. And I pass them around, and none of the kids, my average class age was usually 7.
Yeah.
It would be an art class of like, anywhere from 5 years old up to 10 years old.
Okay.
Age group. But the average was usually 7, and none of the 7-year-olds could fit the puppet.
Oh, really?
So I was either very tiny or younger.
Okay, fair enough. So was that when your puppetry obsession came into it, or were you younger?
Well, my mom got my brother and I puppets like right away. Some of my earliest toys were puppets.
So were your parents puppeteers as well?
No,
Okay,
no.
right.
No, they have a love of puppetry, and they have a love of play and imagination. And my mother was very encouraging of like theatrical play,
Right.
I'll call it. She built me a little puppet stage out of cardboard boxes.
Oh, wow.
When I was tiny, and it had strange patterns and all of the, I think they should wallpaper on the sides of it. And
Right.
the curtains were like clown fabric or something. I don't remember precisely. And it looked kind of overly colorful. But it was a stage. I could open the curtains. They would open and close, like a little string to pull. And I could put on puppet shows. And I had a kangaroo puppet that I had a little Joey, and I took the Joey off because I didn't want a mama kangaroo and baby. I wanted it to be the baby kangaroo.
Right, okay.
And my grandmother made me a kangaroo outfit for
wow.
with a pouch so that I could have my Joey be in the pouch. And my brother had this hideous frog puppet, but we kind of loved it because it looked like an alien. It didn't really look like a frog. And we had other puppets, but I remember those 2 most distinctly.
Nice,
And
that's awesome.
They went everywhere with, not the frog necessarily, but the kangaroo went all kinds of places with me, and was just, and his name was Kangaroo. He was a Joey, but that wasn't his name. His name was just Kangaroo.
Right.
But I was imaginative, but not in every way.
Like you said, you were 7 years old, so you can't be creative.
Thereabouts, yes. Many of my toys were named Lion and Rabbit, but all of my like not just my puppet toys, all of my toys had extensive lives and stories. And I would go to my grandmother's house and have weddings. She had
Oh
this
wow.
red sash, and I would lay out the red sash to be the aisle. And like Lion and Rabbit got married, and then I'd get some other toys later, and they'd have little families, or and he had to go off to war, and like there was all this dramatic stuff all around me all the time. The whole room was full of stories of
Oh
all these
wow.
characters. Yeah.
That's really cool. I mean, you talk about not really being imaginative, but I mean, Winnie the Pooh, for example, I know it's not puppetry, but they're called Rabbit and Tiger, well, Tigger instead of Tiger. So
Yeah.
they're just like how you came up with your ideas. So makes sense. So at what point did you think you could make this a job?
That is a hard question because I'm still working on that.
Okay.
That's an ongoing project. I did go to a puppetry workshop. Now I'd started building puppets and toys and selling them at craft shows.
Okay.
And that was my business, Roro Art, which was officially started in 2004.
Okay.
I wasn't working as a puppeteer, I was working as a puppet builder.
Right.
And I would also get occasional custom work from other people who were needing puppets for particular things. Mostly I did custom work with toys, and most of the business was based on toys. And that I was doing sock monkeys, which were an item that at that time, people who'd had sock monkeys as babies were starting to have babies. So
Okay.
sock monkeys were a popular toy that was sort of, it's a traditional folk toy,
Right.
very popular in North America. And they were sort of taken off at that time. So the business was good for a bit for
Oh,
the
nice.
sock monkeys. But that generation, they all kind of had their babies. And then the next generation coming along, they all had plastic toys.
Oh, I see.
And so that sort of became less popular because people, they like what is familiar. They like what they know. I'd actually been making monster toys before I made sock monkeys, and monsters weren't in then.
Oh, okay.
Then later monsters
Came
rose
back in.
popularity.
Yeah.
So it's you sort of have to ride this, I call it the wave of the wave of what is the thing that is,
Yeah, what's relevant and what's popular.
what's relevant and what's familiar and what's
Yeah.
what's been there before in people's minds,
Yes.
what's recognizable. And I just liked puppets because they're awesome, and
Yeah, of course.
I love, like I said, all of my toys were alive, all of my toys had characters, but puppets have an extra layer of, they want you to give them the story.
Yeah.
The toy, it can sit on the shelf, or you can pull it down off the shelf and make it come alive. The puppet, it's waiting for you to make it come alive.
Yeah, absolutely.
It needs you to control the rods, or put the hand in the body, or whatever the pull the strings, whatever the manipulation control is. There's controls there telling you to do something, telling you to, come up with a story, come up with a character, and who is this, and where are they going, and what are they doing. So I had started in my business. I was actually making I was making paper puppet coloring kits.
Oh, cool.
And that was sort of becoming more of a thing that I was doing. And at the same time, someone I knew through entrepreneurial circles, who was a puppeteer, he was doing a workshop. And so I went to their work to the workshop, and I told a few other friends who were puppet builders, hey, you should, do this workshop, because if you're a puppet builder, you become a better builder if you also try your hand at puppeteering.
Yeah, I get that.
If you're a puppeteer, I think you become a more appreciative puppeteer if you try your hand at building. So I'm always trying to connect the building and the performing.
Yeah.
And so got to meet some amazing, awesome people at this workshop, and do, we explored some stuff, and we actually made a company out of it. So that became Unraku. And Unraku is a play on the word bunraku, or bunraku, which is, I don't know the proper pronunciation, but it's a Japanese puppetry art where you have multiple puppeteers manipulating a character.
Oh, okay.
And it's a very high art with a lot of training to do bunraku. You start as a feet puppeteer, and you work your way up through the body of the puppet to a head puppeteer, and you have to spend years of dedication to get good at it. And they have these traditional stories that they do. Oh, we weren't so traditional, so we were unraku. So it was
You're taking inspiration from
it was
something.
the
Yeah.
inspiration of having this, and we would do tabletop puppetry, which is my favorite kind of puppetry,
Right.
which is a smaller puppet that can be internally and externally manipulated, often with multiple puppeteers working together
Right. Yeah.
to give a more realistic animation. And that was a lot of fun. So that was 2008.
Oh wow.
We started doing that and did some videos and did a lot of live shows. We ran some puppet slams in Toronto, which
Okay.
I'm a huge fan of puppet slams. And so I was like the stage manager, and then my little character, What, was the host of the slams with another big old curmudgeon puppet named Frank Feltman, performed by another puppeteer. And that was very nice, because that was also slams where you can experiment and you can do really wacky things and try object theater and giant puppets and tiny puppets, and you know, and the audience is there for it. They love it.
Yes, they'll love the surprise and the uniqueness, what comes out of each and every individual that rocks up, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, you get so many different things, and you put out the call to anybody, and you're like, you know, hey, have you got something you're working on? Have you got an idea that you just want to try? And I've tried things that have fallen horribly wrong.
Yeah, you've got to fail, I suppose, at times.
I've had a couple failures where the audience is just going, okay. But I've also had ones where, like, you know, I heard later that some of the audience, you know, they went to a bar and they reenacted my show, my act with salt and pepper shakers and things, because they were like, oh, the story and the puppets, you know, were so great, and we just don't want to let go of the story. We want to relive it again. So
wow, that's amazing.
So yeah, it's like, oh, isn't that? I wish I'd been there to see that. I wish somebody videoed that, because that was probably even better. You know.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's really cool to hear that. So obviously, I know you've spoken about what you're working on at the moment. So are you working on anything external to what we've not spoke about?
I am taking a puppet making class right now, which is very exciting. I'm taking Bernd Ogrodnik's wood, I don't know what it's called, World of Puppets, doing wood carving for puppetry. And because I have so many other things going on in my life, I'm terribly behind, which is I actually work at a wood shop. I do other things, and I also I've got some health concerns, so I do a lot of physical things, and then that makes me tired. So that's one of the things I'm hoping. I said I'm still working on it. I'd like to get more puppetry work, because it wouldn't be as physical as the other jobs I have.
Of course, yeah.
So, you know, again, you know, waves.
Yes.
I'm doing hand gestures.
Yeah, you're just riding the wave altogether.
Yeah, I'm just figuring out where I'm going with things. But this class is very exciting because it's working with wood, and I love wood. At my woodworking job, I've collected like all these little bits of wood with knot holes in them, and they're lovely, like sculptural pieces of natural art. And then wood is this very inviting material. It's very warm. It has this beautiful texture, and you can carve it.
Yes.
So I've got behind me, I've got a bunch of like wood things, and I recently bought, over there is a drill press.
Oh yeah.
Because I do actually, even before taking the course, I use wood a lot. This is one of the things that drew me to the woodworking job. I took the woodworking job because the toy business had to go into pandemic hibernation.
Oh, of course, right, yeah.
Pandemic ended my art shows. I was selling at art shows, and that ended. So then I actually had a puppeteer that I work with. Her husband has the wood shop, so he was overworked. Business went up when the pandemic happened because all the artists are at home needing panels to paint on. So that's what I make, panels for artists. So I'm still in the art, you know, world. But yeah, the drill press, I make a lot of my skeletons for bigger puppets out of wood.
Yeah.
And you need to drill holes in the wood.
Yes.
Put wires through to make moving body parts. So I make these wooden skeletons that I then cover in with usually with metal wire joints that I usually cover in fur and padding, and it's sort of half stuffed toy, half manipulatable. Well, entirely manipulatable.
Yeah.
Puppet.
Cool.
But I've done like puppets for theater and stuff like that. I want to be less building and more performing.
Right. Okay.
So I'm trying to get into that, but I'm still, like often if you want a particular puppet to perform, you have to build it.
Yes, of course. It's better that
So,
you could build it for yourself if you have a specific character in mind as well. So that makes it
yes.
that much easier as well.
Yeah, I had an interesting experience a few years ago where I did a Shakespeare play, and I built 5 giant puppets for it, and I had to train the puppeteers to perform it, and it was with a group called 7 Siblings, and that was delightful because all but one of them had never used puppets before.
Oh.
But they were so into it. But because of the time constraints and the size of the puppets, and there was no budget, like really
Oh, right. Okay.
no budget. And I had to build these puppets in the hands of the actors. So
Really?
I would bring a half-made puppet and I'd say, here you go, manipulate this, do the things with it that it needs to do. And then I'm going to take it away and I'm going to adjust things and I'm going to put a bit more detail. And the puppet just kept getting more and more built each rehearsal.
Oh, okay.
And I would watch how the puppeteers could maneuver it. And I would make some changes each time. And it was funny because I'd bring them this hideous looking foam wood wire thing, and then they'd be like, okay, and then they'd sort of try it. Oh, I can make it walk. Oh, I can make it talk. Oh, I can make it, do things. The biggest puppet was 7 foot tall and had 3 puppeteers working together to perform it.
Wow.
The trickiest maneuver was one of the puppets. He was about, I'm going to say 5 foot tall, but he sort of walked a little hunched, so he was a little lower, performed by 2 puppeteers, and he had to be murdered, and then his puppeteers had to be murdered, and then all 3 had to be thrown in a well. So that was the most complicated maneuver.
Okay.
But it was a lovely experimental process of making these things.
Yeah.
That's something I would like to do more of, but maybe with a budget this time.
Yeah, because you can go to different extents of how you design the puppets, and obviously a lot more.
And it's also food and rent.
Yes.
And that's always a consideration. I was really lucky in that year. I had some savings, and I was able to do this thing that and it's something that if I'd known that the budget was so low, I'd have had to say no to it.
Yeah,
for
I get that.
Practical reasons. But I didn't know about indie theater going into it, and I can't regret it because I met there was a huge cast of people in it, and they were amazing. And I've since been following some of the stuff that they've been doing, and they've been doing amazing stuff.
Oh, that's good to hear.
And they were wonderful people, and I made these awesome puppets, which have since I've been able to take those puppets to some puppet walkabout events and things. I've had them on display in libraries and at makers festivals. I got to go to a science and technology convention.
Oh, how nice.
Amazing, and just walk about with the puppets. And I got to hire a couple of other puppeteers to come with me. And we literally just took the puppets and walked around this big convention area that people had paid a whole lot of money with tickets to go to, and the booths were put on by like the Royal Ontario Museum, and like NASA had a booth there, and like all of this awesome stuff with the puppets walking around. It was neat.
Wow, that's really cool. And you talk about these costumes.
Mm-hmm.
How long did the 7 foot one take to build?
See, that's hard to say because there was building the 5 puppets at the same time. And I don't remember exactly. The rehearsal process was at least a couple of months. So I'd say a few months, but I don't remember how many.
Right, I get that, yeah.
And I was working I was doing my toy business at the same time. So I was doing some art shows, and I was building toys and doing some custom orders with that. But that sort of it almost runs itself. I mean, I just sit down and I sew some stuff.
Yeah, I get that, yeah.
Stuff to sell, and then people come and buy that stuff. And then the puppets, I would do them sort of between the art shows, between the rehearsals, and during the rehearsals. I would go to each of the rehearsals.
Yeah.
I would get information about what scene are we doing.
Yeah.
And then I would bring the relevant puppet with me and work on it when the actors weren't using it.
Oh, okay. Fair
And I
enough.
remember at a dress rehearsal, I was still painting eyeballs because I couldn't do the eyes until we had the lighting set up, because the eyes had to catch the theatrical light.
Oh,
And I tried painting, and they were all going to be blue. They were all these glowing blue eyes, and I painted the eyes, and then we put them in front of the lights, and it was too dark, and I actually had to go all the way to white with blue edges. So originally it was very dark blue edges with lighter blue in the middle.
yeah.
But it became dark blue edges all the way to white in the middle.
Right.
And they looked like they glowed. But that wasn't something I could do until like dress rehearsal with
wow.
lighting in the theater that we were performing in. And so they, the eyeballs may have been a little glossy wet still on
Yes.
that very first dress rehearsal in the theater.
Oh, wow. No pressure then.
But it looked great though. Well, and then the nice thing is, like, the eyes were the only part that I had to paint like that, and they were, away from the puppeteer's hands.
Yeah, of course.
And the puppets actually, they did get washed a fair bit because they had to dye and get bloody. They had blood packs in them and stuff. It was Shakespeare,
What Shakespeare play was it?
It was Titus Andronicus.
Okay.
Which is, I don't recommend it. It's horrible. It's horrible. And I had to read this. I was at another puppet festival actually in Montreal when I first got the script.
Yeah.
And I didn't get a script. I got the book out of the library, and I'm reading it and going, oh my God, this play is horrible. I mean, on one hand, no wonder actors want to try their hand at it, because it's like just gaudy and gory and kind of stupid, and all of the characters do stupid things, and then they die, and then they kill each other a whole lot, and just and all of the costume ideas that you can get for it. And then the director, he had this idea to make some of the characters inhuman. So the emperor is a giant insect monster, and his brother is like this sort of satyr goat creature. And they were the ones with multiple puppeteers. And the nurse was a beautiful white wolf. And there's a clown character, and he was sort of this big bumbling. We had a little difficulty designing him because he was supposed to look like a naked mole rat, but there wasn't a way that I could figure out how to fabric that with the material I had in the time that I had in the budget of zero that I had. And so I just had this big curly furred material, and he became a bit more of a mole with like a regular mole with big blue, and he had claws instead of eyes, so his claws glowed blue.
Okay, cool.
But he was sort of bumbling, and then there was things like, how is he going to walk? He had little short legs, so he had to hop. The big insect monster, how is he going to work? He had a mandibular mouth that opened into 3 parts.
Okay.
And then one of the arm puppeteers also was his tongue, and she had a sleeve, and she could lick another character on the cheek. Like, there was all these little crazy weird things. It was
wow.
It was a very fun thing. But I remember reading the book, and I actually have written somewhere, I have to save this play with puppets.
Well, yes.
Because it's such a terrible play. And but it was such a clever idea on the behalf of the director. The director was
it sounds like it.
And he was just like, they'd done something with masks before, and they were like, what can we want to push this whole theatricality and the altering of reality even further.
Yes.
Because you can do things with a puppet that you can't do with a human.
No, exactly. Makeup only goes so far in a human.
Yep.
So I just want to finish
puppet is like the ultimate makeup.
Oh, exactly, because it's a completely different person. You can create whatever you want. So I just want to finish on one final question, and that's, what are your goals and your hopes going into the next couple of years?
I think I'm going to focus on the puppetry. I want to perform more puppets.
Yeah.
And I want to get to perform other people's puppets more, because I do love my puppets, and I think I'm a good builder, and I have a puppet company named Honeyball
Okay.
with Mike Oteku and Lindsay Lee, and they're amazing puppeteers in their own rights. And Lindsay has a show called Meek She, which is Meek She the Meek Sheep, which is on TVO right now. Awesome. I gotta plug it. And I got to build some puppets for that. I've got a couple background puppets that I assisted in building. I didn't build the total puppet.
That's still cool though. Nice.
Yeah, and I like stuff like that, because Lindsay's like, what's something unique that we can do with this thing, and it's like, oh, okay, here, let's play with that. And we've done some of our own puppet stories. We actually met taking a course with the Puppet Mongers Toronto School of Puppetry, and we took a course together, and that's sort of how we evolved into Honeyball. And we were actually working on a piece in that class. You could bring an idea, and then other people might show up without an idea. They're willing to work on someone else's idea. So I have this idea that I've been working on for years called Wolf Story. And I really want to continue working with that. So Honeyball will be involved in the continuation of Wolf Story. And so we've actually done 2 versions of it. We did a version in the class with the Puppet Exploratory Lab with the PXL with Puppet Mongers.
Yes.
And then we performed it at a couple slams. So we performed it at Concrete Cabaret in Toronto, and we performed it again at the Off Castilier Festival in Montreal. This segment of Wolf Story. But I want to come back to like the full story, the beginning, the middle, and the end. The segment that we did in the slam is kind of it was a fun bit, again, with the sort of puppet murder and death and dismemberment, and another wolf. I've made a number of puppet wolves now.
I'm seeing the theme now. A lot of blood, a lot of wolf.
There's a bit of a theme I've got going on here. I must analyze that. But I'm not. But yeah, I want to do more of that, which is my own puppetry. And then I do want to as well, because I've had some wonderful experiences performing other people's puppets. There's another performer in Toronto named Auntie B, and unfortunately I have no idea what she's working on right now. But she was going to do a pilot at one point. I got to do a puppet character for her, which was a friend of mine built the puppet, and it was this big fella puppet who was like taller than I was, and that was delightful. And she had this beautiful big huge set and these larger than life characters, and I had so much fun performing that. There's a horse puppet I want to build for parades. That's another completely separate thing, but yeah, I want to be working. That leads into segue into I want to build bigger puppets and work with larger puppets. Nice. And I want to do a stilt puppet that's a horse, so that it's like a hobby horse style of puppet where you are the rider, and the puppet sort of goes around your body, like a real horse, and then you pretend you're riding it. But I want to do it on stilts with a close to life size horse.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
That will be. I've seen this style of puppet. I've never seen one done with just a really normal looking horse. I've seen them done with like crazy animals of alien natures, and a friend of mine rides one that's like a bird. But I want to do 2 versions, a knight and a Lady Godiva, and I want to ride the Lady Godiva at a woman's march.
Nice. That'll be amazing.
So yeah,
that's like a big project though.
there's my recent acquisition. I got a pussy hat for the Women's March.
Very cool.
But yeah, I don't know, and also just sort of see where things take me, because I've designed a few new paper puppets, my paper puppet coloring kits with my toy.
Yeah, you said
I'm not actively selling anything right now. I did do a little. Concrete Cabaret had a little show, and I went, and it was like a slam in a bar, and I sold some paper puppets there. So I'm sort of creeping back into normalcy.
Yes.
But I am still very aware that the pandemic is still on, and I'm not quite ready for art shows.
Yeah, I totally get that. Yeah. That's cool.
So, doing little things like the paper puppets and big things like big puppets.
Nice. Well, at least you're getting yourself back into the whole society and the whole business world thing.
Ever so slowly.
Yes. Don't worry. We'll hopefully get back into the full swing of things come a year or two time,
Yeah, well, I've got friends who are opening up theaters. Red Sand Castle is
that's
open,
good.
I think just now. There's there's stuff going on around me.
Yes.
And I just have to figure out a place in it.
I'm sure you will. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we finish?
Support your local artists. Go see puppet shows. I don't know. I mean, I can talk about puppetry forever and ever and ever, but I will encourage people, if you've got puppet shows starting up in your local area, if you've got things going on online, because there are still slams and events that are going online, go and support them. A lot of it is free to see. A lot of it is low cost or pay what you can. Support and encourage it. Puppetry is on the rise. People are embracing the tactile reality of it, and a puppet is something that you can interact with in a far more literal way. Like computer animation is wonderful and fabulous, and cell painting and traditional animation, I used to do that as another job that I've had.
Oh, wow.
And that's all wonderful and fabulous, and it's all storytelling, and I think stories are what connect us all.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
So I'm loving to see all of it, but of course I have a particular place in my heart for the tactile fabric and wood and wire and nuts and bolts, literally, of puppetry. I will mention I have workshops coming up. So I don't know when you're going to air the interview. So my workshops will probably be, the particular ones I have coming up will be done. But I am always doing more things, and take puppet making courses and classes, and take puppet performing if you could. They're a little more rare, performance classes, but take those as well. I've mentioned a number of friends. I'll mention Puppet Pie real quick. It has some excellent performance and building workshops, hosting a variety of different artists as well. I'm going to be doing stories with the Chalking Stories Cafe. I have to mention that. That's one of the workshops that's coming up. We will probably be offering that again, probably later. We're doing one just before Christmas so that people can make Christmas presents.
Yeah.
But we'll probably offer one like in the summer or something. We don't have a schedule for that. But we do monthly storytellings. And that's live people mostly. But Puppet What? She makes an appearance at those.
Oh, nice.
I can get her down if you want to see her.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
And then I'm trying to think if there's any other things I can mention. That's really it. Yeah, Chalking Stories Cafe will be the best ongoing one. Here's what. Hello. I am a sock puppet. I am made of socks.
That's really cool, that.
So she's just small. She's made of an old used sock. What? Yeah. And it's kind of fun because she's been like in live shows. She just walks around on the table.
Yeah.
Or sometimes I'll have like a little stage, and then in Zoom shows she can just fill the camera.
Oh, okay.
And have better lighting and. Hey. Oh, this is fun. I usually have a better background. Not all the junk that is behind Robin.
So how did you work out the voice?
Oh, voices are fun with puppets. Sometimes you have to get the character first.
Yeah.
And then figure out who they are. And another friend of mine who here's another thing, you can you can attend puppet labs. So here's another thing I'll plug is my friend Rachel does Rhizome Puppet Lab, and she's in, I think, Washington. I don't know actually know where she is. I go to Zoom, which is online. So and it's a puppet lab, and puppet labs are these things where people will come and sort of just there'll be a topic, but then you experiment within that topic.
Okay.
So the next one coming up is actually my favorite topic I've mentioned a few times, storytelling. So my friend Rob Dark is going to be at that one talking about storytelling.
Oh, nice.
And then people are going to do a little experimenting with stories that they bring with them. But voices, Rachel said, voices come from figuring out the personality
Right.
of
Okay.
the puppet, who the puppet is. So what you know, she's like an impulsive little kid. I'm all enthusiastic. So she's got, it's my voice, but just pitched up a tiny bit. And I, you know, and I talk a lot, and I got just a little bit of a th in my voice because I got a prominent tongue. Which you can and not something over here. Back in my mouth. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know, and I get enthusiastic about stuff, and I talk really fast, and I'm all excited about things. And when I get really excited, my voice sort of goes down a bit, and then I talk like in sort of as I slur words together a bit. So yeah, her voice is coming from sort of this notion. I remember when I was 4 years old, and I just wanted to like rule the world, and I didn't, you know, the world was mine. And my dad has a video of me when I was 4.
Okay.
And he's I'm sitting on a porch of our house with my brother, and I don't remember what my brother said, but my father asks both of us, "What are you going to do today?" And I said, "I'm going to scare people." And I was like the most utterly unscary thing ever. It's like I was a little yellow potato with a pat of butter on the top.
Yes.
And I have a dimple, and I look like a little potato with butter, and totally not scary. And so what's sort of based on that character of,
oh wow, nice.
Not necessarily me when I was 4, because she's a bit more, what's a bit more intellectual, and she's into like physics and space-time travel and, you know, really nerdy science fiction stuff. She's a big Doctor Who fan, you know, stuff like that, which I would have been at 4, actually. I would have been a big Doctor Who fan at 4. So yeah, that's true. But she's not me, but she's the essence of the enthusiastic child who and I mentioned before, who makes mistakes, who makes assumptions and leaps of faith that might not be in the right direction, and then has to sort of learn about things and learn how to be polite and learn how to be you know, like is friendly, but needs to learn how to think of others and, you know, little things like that.
Yeah, learn the basics of.
Basics, I have a character who's a big bad wolf, and he's got a growly voice. I don't know if I can do his voice without. That's the other thing. I can't do a puppet's voice very well without the puppet sometimes.
Oh, okay.
But he has a bit of an accent just to differentiate him, and he sort of talks like this. And oh, puppet, what are you doing now? You know, and he's exasperation, and he's the straight man, and he knows the answer to the question already, but she's not listening, you know. But it's from a Little Red Riding version, so that's how he's got his name, Big Bad. And he was originally just built to be a big bad wolf, and then the conclusion of the story is Riding Hood and the wolf become friends.
Yes.
Over pie, because she convinces him not to eat her because they're going to bake pie together.
That's cool.
You know, so it's like it's a twist on the fairy tale. But a lot of the characters, in my case, it comes puppet first, and then figuring out who they are and the personality, and, you know, are they gravelly, or are they, you know, like whatever. The purple puppet is a dragon that I'm working on.
Yeah, you said.
And it's got 3 different characters, because it sort of represents 3 different sides of bullying. So one is like, oh, I'm just kidding, and one is like, well, you're annoying me. But I have to try to make them all the same voice, so that's actually quite a challenge, because it is one character with 3
different personalities.
sides of their personality. One person, but you know how you can be, you know, you're grumpy because you haven't eaten yet, but then, oh, you know, you're sort of charming because you want something, you know, but it's the same person.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And so that voice is being a challenge for me, but it's also really fun to do, to figure out, you know, how is each one going to interact with each other?
Yeah.
Because they also talk to each other a bit. So that's, yeah, I don't know. It's
the joys
like
of your job. You always want a challenge.
Forever. Well, that's what I love about puppetry too, is there's a part of my brain that just dives into the story, and it's like, what's going on, and what am I telling? What is the nature of the story that I am telling? Because there's not always a reason for this. Not every story has a reason.
Of course, yeah.
That is like, I'm here to teach a lesson, or, you know, I'm here to instruct, give an instruction. Some stories are just about the feeling of it. I'm here to create a feeling, you know, to make you feel sad and then happy, or I'm here to make you feel, you know, angry and indignant. You know, maybe it's an environmental story and we have to fix the planet because there is a lot of important, like, I think there's a lot of important stories being told right now, and they may be being told in lighthearted ways, but this is why I'm saying, go to see puppet shows, go to see shows, go to learn how things are made, because that's a story too. The making of the things that you have in your world is very important. And so making art is an easy conduit into learning about materials, about product. And that's, you know, everything we have, from our clothing to our houses, it's been made, you know, so that's a story. But where was I going with this? I derail myself easily.
I don't even know.
Well, we were talking about the challenge. So the challenge is like how to tell the story, how to get people to feel things, but also the physical manipulation of the puppet. You know, what has a mouth? She is a mouth puppet, and she has arm rods with short little arms. So a lot of it is, you know, how can I, you know, tilt her head and she looks cute like that, or, you know, put her hands together, or have her point at something. You know, so there's the calculating part of my brain that really enjoys. This is one of the reasons why I want to work with other people's puppets, because it's figuring out how to make. I know how the stuff I built moved because I'm moving it the whole time I'm making it.
Yeah, exactly.
But I love meeting a brand new puppet that I've never met before and saying, how does its arm move? How does its mouth move? That big puppet that I did for the NTB project. You know, that was delightful. How does he had to dance? You know, how do his feet move? Not all puppets have feet. So, you know, that was really fun. So yeah, I want to meet more puppets.
That's really cool, and I hope you do work with more people down the line.
Yeah.
So Robin, that's about it for me, and it's been amazing to talk to you and learn a lot about you. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. That was a lot of fun.
I appreciate your time.
Have some editing to do now to fit it.
No, I like the raw cut, to be fair. So
nice.
And I'll be sure to let you know when it goes live. So
awesome.
Right.
Awesome.
We'll enjoy the rest.
If you want links to any of the things I mentioned, let me know, and I'll try to assemble. I will do my links for Chalking Stories Cafe and Puppet What has a Facebook page.
Oh, nice. Yeah, so I'll talk to you over Messenger. You can send them all through, and then I'll chuck them all in the YouTube description when it goes live.
Awesome.
It's great. Thank you again, and hopefully we'll catch up down the line if we do this again, if you want to do it down the line again.
Sure. Yeah, I've always got projects coming up, and if you ever want to go really into nerdy into like the hows and whys of pareidolia and how puppetry functions in our brain, that's one of my pet likes.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
I don't know what you call that. One of my particular interests. Also, death in puppetry. I gave a talk on that at a conference. So if you ever want to talk about puppets dying.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I'm definitely down for another chat with you, so that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, enjoy the rest of
future topics.
Exactly. Enjoy the rest of your day, and take care for now.
I'm off to sew. Take
Goodbye.
care. Thank you.
Bye.